It's not the size of the army that matters. It's what you do with it. Or at least that's what I keep trying to tell my wife. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek video. Today, I want to talk about a game that's new to me, probably not new to a lot of you, but Warcry. I'm newly adopted into this. I decided back in Adepticon when I was signing up for different, like once Nova kind of came up, I decided I wanted to sign up for Warcry. And that's what I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I just decided I want to do Warcry. I wanted to try a different game. I want to try a different, skirmish game. I've heard really, really good things about Warcry from a lot of people, and I decided I wanted to give it a try. So at TMX, I actually had the pleasure of getting to learn how to play the game from Zambies, and she kind of ran me through like how a game operates and how you play a game. Really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. She was a great instructor, had a lot of fun doing it. And then I decided from there that I was gonna make this happen. So I went out and I started to buy what I needed to do. Because at first I was thinking I had the models for the Age of Sigmar, like hunter guys, Wilder Core or something like that, I think it is called. And I thought I was going to do that, but it just wasn't sparking the joy. Like I've talked about a lot here, it wasn't sparking the joy. And I was like, I want something that's just going to like speak to me. And then I realized that they have the rules to be able to play with all of the Underworld's warbands. And I have been wanting an excuse to buy, build, and paint the Crimson Court forever. Like since they came out, I've been wanting to do it. So I decided, boom, we're going to do a Soulblight Gravelords list because I want cool vampires and I want to build and paint cool vampires. And that's it. That was the entirety of the decision-making process in my mind was I want to have cool vampires. So with that core in mind, I started to think about what I was going to build and I started coming up with lists. And then I went with my family down to Florida. We were going to Key West every year and we were in Fort Lauderdale area because that's where my brother lives, and we were visiting for a couple days before we would all go down to Key West. And while there, I decided to visit a bunch of the shops there just to see what kind of game store. I like to go to visit game stores when I go to different areas just to see what they have going on and see what kind of game stores they have. And while I was there, they had a used section, or where they had people had build models and whatever else. And I saw that they had the White King on Skeletal Steed, and I was like, ooh, that's a cool model. It's also pretty fast, I would imagine. I know I could do it because I'd been looking through what was available for Soulblight Gravelords, and I was like, boom, I'm gonna get that. So I bought that as well, and then I pieced together the rest of my list with the pieces from Curse City that I had. And boom, I had a list with 6 models in it that was a ton of fun. And I was super excited how they turned out. I had this color scheme that really popped, that worked well. I was using, like different kinds of, on the color wheel, like the color theory, making them pop and making them work. I had the grungier ones for my skeletal guys because I've been in the ground and whatnot. A little bit brighter for the vampires. I had some cool, like some very cool looking pale skin with them, and I was stoked. But at this point, I'd also still only played one game of Warcry, and I was signed up for the Warcry GT, and I did not want to go into it thinking that I was going to be holding back my opponents from enjoying their tournament, enjoying their convention, enjoying why they've come here, because I would imagine most of them have, that's their game that they play predominantly, and that's why they're there playing it. And I didn't want to hold back their ability to enjoy their time at the convention. So I got my friend Harris to teach me, do another game with me playing, and I used my models, so I had an actual experience with my list. And we played a game and had a ton of fun. It really was a blast, just back and forth. Really a great time. He's a great guy. I really enjoy his company, and he was very generous with his time there to teach me, kind of run me through how to do it again. I kind of had the sense from my first game, but now I had another game where we had kind of run through everything and had it going. It was great. So with that, I have my 2 games under my belt, and I head off to Nova to go participate in the Warcry GT. And I got there and everyone was awesome. It was a ton of fun. The guys running it were great. All of my competitors were great. I had 5 incredible games, and it really made me feel like this game like probably has a lot of legs for me, because they were quick matches. So even the one game that I just got like raffled, like just destroyed, it was over quick, and I did not feel any kind of like bad feelings from it, you know? Like, oh yeah, you want to win, but like I did not have any bad feelings from it because it was so quick, and I knew that I had other games going on that day that I was playing. I ended up going 3-2 at my first time there, so I obviously have a lot of experience with wargaming and miniature wargaming and what to do in Games Workshop games. But with that in mind, I still felt like I was able to pick up this game. So I had the basis of how to do a war game, but I've never really played Warcry except for those 2 games, and I still was able to pick it up and know the rules. I did not hold up my opponents. You know, there was times when you had to look up rules, but I still do that with Warhammer 40K, and I've played 1,000 billion games of that. So looking up the rules is just part of playing a miniature war game. And I was able to have just a ton of fun, and I had a blast playing with my opponents. We had 5 really awesome games, and at the end of the day, I went 3-2 and just had a great time. So I can't highly recommend this game enough. It's so much fun. It's so quick. It's played on a small like board, just like Kill Team and whatnot. I'm really feeling these kind of like skirmish games just because of the ability to just like play them quick, re-rack if you want to, and play a second game in an evening with some friends, and or 5 games over the course of a day, and still not feel like you're just like completely burnt out. I still love going to big tournaments for 40K, but there's something about just like one day banging it out and just having a ton of fun playing these games at a convention, and then having the space and capacity to be able to enjoy the rest of the convention. And even just at home, being able to not have to worry about setting up like a 6x4 foot table, not being like, oh, well, I can't really play because I need to go to the game store to do it. And I just don't, you know, I'm just want to hang out at home. Set it up on your kitchen table, you know, set it up on your coffee table. Like, these boards are small enough that you can, the game board is small enough that you could just play there. You could also have like much less terrain that you need for to play with it. So just, it keeps, everything is just like on a smaller scale. I'm really liking the fact that I can do Soulblight Gravelords. I got to paint my cool vampires without having to paint like a giant army to play AOS with. It was a smaller force that I was able to build and paint and look cool, and I'm very excited about. And that might be it. You know, I might paint some other models to go in and have some different options for it, or I might just move on to a completely different Warcry warband and paint them up and have fun with them. So honestly, I just find that the mechanics are really smooth. They're really fun. It's competitive, but not in like a super crunchy way. It really feels like, you know what's going on, because there's so few models and there's so few like special rules that you have to keep in mind, that right off the bat, when your opponent is telling you about their army, you know what they can do. You also, while you're playing, the decisions become tactical decisions on like, do I want to go and get this objective? Do I want to place myself over here? Like, do I want to go into combat? Do I want to charge in? Do I want to fall back? Those are the decisions you make, not like, oh, well, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's a small warband again versus like a big army. I felt like the decisions that I was faced with didn't leave me with analysis paralysis, because I felt like there was obvious answers for what I needed to do, and with these models, and I was able to do them and enjoy myself. And like I said, these games were super quick, and it was, you know, a lot of fun to be able to play in that way. And just to for me, the thing I love most about miniature wargaming is the miniatures. I enjoy the rolling dice. I love playing on a table with terrain. And for me, this peaks all of those, like checks all those boxes. But it does it in a way that doesn't require me to devote 3 hours to it. It does it in a way that doesn't require me to devote 2,000 points worth of models, even though it's like 1,000 points, but it's 6 models. Like, I'm not making hundreds of models to play into it. Yeah, you have some choices. You can like pick and choose and mix and match, but you don't really, I don't feel as much of a need to Pokemon it and collect them all. Like I do kind of if I'm running an army full on. Like my Dark Angels, I feel like I want to have at least one of everything that's available to them, because that's just the way it feels. With this Warband, I feel like I've got this Warband. They were fun to play with. They worked well. They synergized. They did their thing. but I don't feel the urge or need to have like everything available to the Soulblight Gravelords so that I can then go out and mix and match and choose and optimize with it. Some people do, I'm sure they do, but it doesn't feel like that's what this calls for, because especially since, similar to what they're doing with Kill Team now, you basically can have these single box warbands that you just get the one box, you build and paint them, and you're good to go. And yeah, you can have some where you want to optimize it and have more of another or whatever. And this also might be just the way that I'm playing it. But even then, even if you need multiple boxes to do it, like you're talking about 2 boxes versus like a dozen boxes to get all of the forces that you need, Like I'm thinking about you're probably gonna hear this, I'm gonna be at the DreamHack GT in Atlanta, Georgia, while you're listening to this, if you're listening to this when it drops. And my list that I'm bringing there, I have 2 Terminator Chaplains, so that's 2 boxes there. I've got Azrael. I have a Judicaire. I've got 2 boxes of the Inner Circle Companions. I've got 3 squads of the Deathwing Knights. I have it would be 2 boxes of Eradicators. I've got the Repulsor. I've got the Calidus Assassin. I've got 2 squads of the Jump Pack Intercessors, and I've got 1 5-man Assault Intercessor squad. So you're looking at 16 different kits that I needed to make my list. Whereas with my Warband, for the ones that I used for my Soulblight Gravelords, I had the Vampires one, I had Curse City, I picked up the one guy random, and then I did do the Vampire Asher something. The vampires that are like the monk vampires. So I did pick up that kit, which was, I had Curse City already, and then I picked up the Crimson Court, but I really wanted those. And then I got the one random model, and then I had the other one. So you're talking about like 4 different sources of kits that I have there versus 16, like a quarter of the amount of kits that you need to play the list that I did in particular. And you could do it even with less. And that feels like a good place to be, especially if your time is, if you're pressed for time for the hobby, if you're pressed for time for games, if you're pressed for space to be able to do any of this. This kind of game, Kill Team is a similar place with it. If you like the sci-fi, go Kill Team. If you like the fantasy, go with the Warcry. They feel like they're in a good space to maximize your hobby and gaming fun without feeling the need to build, collect, and play. It feels like you can just go get your band, play, and have fun. And that feels so strong. And if you were looking for another project to do in a hobby space, you just pick up another Warband and go with that, whatever piques your interest. And that feels fun. And that feels strong. And it feels like a good space to be in a game. And now, like a lot of these skirmish games, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir to a lot of people, but skirmish games are not just like a diet version of the world that you're playing in. They are a legitimately fun way to play a war game, to enjoy your time with your friend, to enjoy your time with strangers at a tournament, to enjoy a hobby that you want to build and paint and do. So I can't talk more highly enough about Warcry. I'm going to definitely keep going in it and see what happens. I maybe go into more tournaments and stuff like that, maybe build up a different warband. It was a lot of fun, and I foresee myself wanting to play the game more and do more with that. So, part of when I showed you this with the painting and stuff like that, you probably know that I am a member of the Army Painters Factory team. And when I was signing up with them, I made sure to negotiate for something to help not just me, but also you guys who got me here. So through your subscription, through your lovely comments, through sharing, and onto my Patreon, and all these different ways that you support the channel here, that got me into a place where I could be part of the Army Painter Factory team. And I wanted to make sure I could give back. So the Army Painter managed to give me a code. It's not a referral code, so I don't get anything from this. This is entirely just to give you guys a discount. You can get 5% off at the Army Painter by putting in code FactoryGeek5. And we'll get 5% off of that. All the paints that you saw me use on these forces were from the Army Painter. So I used a combination of speed paints, the war paint fanatics. I don't think I did any air paints. Maybe I don't think so. But anyway, any of the things that they sell, you can get them and you can build and paint to your heart's content there and get 5% off and help you do that. There's also a 10% off code, but that's in my Patreon. They wanted me to keep that behind the paywall to extra thank the people that more directly support the channel. So that's back there. So if you want to join the Patreon, you can sign up and you'll get the 10% off code once you join in the Patreon. Honestly, you could probably save, if you're going to buy like one of the big box sets or something like that, you could probably save yourself more money on the sale than you would necessarily lose supporting the channel here. And it's like win-win, you know, for everybody involved. But I hope you guys, what do you guys think? What about the skirmish games? You know, are you looking to play more of those? Is that like your main game that you play? Warcry or Kill Team or any other of the independent skirmish games? I've picked up, I've picked up a bunch from Snarling Badger, like, Adam and Vince Venturella over there at Snarling Badgers, like a bunch of their stuff, like Death Wizards and stuff, Mystic 13. A lot of really awesome, like kind of smaller skirmish games. I also picked up Frostgrave, and I'm kind of looking into more of these like smaller, like fun games, and it feels good. It feels like it's like a call-in that's kind of happening there. So give it a shot. Check it out and see if you guys are interested in those. And if you are, talk about it. Like, tell me the games that you love. Tell me what draws you to the skirmish games versus the bigger games. Or tell me the opposite. Tell me why you like the bigger games better than the skirmish games. Why do you only play Apocalypse? You know, I'd love to hear that from someone who's like, I don't play small games. I literally only do games that take me multiple days with an entire gymnasium full of terrain. Loved it. I would love to hear what that's about. And I would love to hear that down in the conversation. The comments down below are usually a great place to have some really awesome conversations and keep that going. And I really appreciate all that you guys do to help support the channel and keep those conversations going. But I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I certainly have. I've been Phil, the Glacial Geek, as always. And until next time, stay safe and have fun.